Hello, everyone. My name is Bret Simmermacher. Welcome to Unblocked podcast, baseball version number 2, with myself and Jeff Southall, better known as Rooster and Jon Lieber, former major leaguer with the Cubs and Phillies and Yankees. And did I miss anybody, John?
Pirates.
Pirates. That's right. We all have connections with each other because John and I both played at South Alabama. Rooster and I played at University of West Florida together. And Brian Gottfried, which is behind the scenes here today, has kind of let me take over the reins, so to speak, and come up with what we're going to discuss. And the first thing we're going to talk about is last night's American League Game 7. Obviously, guys, we were wrong about what we thought was going to happen last week with both teams being up 2-0. Now we're, Game 7 last night, and then there's another Game 7 tonight with the Phillies and the Diamondbacks. Let's talk about last night's game first. My thoughts are that Corey Seager's home run in the first inning and then them getting 2 more runs after that put the Astros on their heels, and they kind of took off from there. What are your thoughts, John?
I mean, phenomenal. I don't care what anybody says, but for a team to go in there and win 4 games in Houston against a team like that, that's hard to do, no matter who you are. I would have never guessed that. I'm not gonna lie to you. I thought for sure Houston was going to wrap that series up. They were going to at least win one of those games because they're very good at home. And I think the whole objective for the Rangers going into that series when they went back to Houston was we got to score first. Like you said, put them on their heels. We're going to have a slugfest basically because that's what the Astros do. They go out, they hit the ball, they drive in runs, and you just got to give a lot of credit to that offense. I mean, just did a phenomenal job and getting the runs right off the bat, and like you said, put them on their heels, and that was the difference in the game.
How'd you guys think Scherzer did for his second outing in a month?
I thought he did okay. I mean, he's not the Max Scherzer from 2-3 years ago, but it gives him another arm going forward, and I think each outing out. I think he's just going to get better.
Is their mentality, John, you think, since you've been in it, I mean, you were at that level. I mean, I played in the minor leagues a little bit. Rooster, you've been around it as a scout and stuff. Is the mentality that, he's been there and done it before? Does that come into play a lot?
Hell yeah. I mean, that's huge. It doesn't matter what he did, the first time out in a while, but I mean, just having him out there and his presence, the way he carries himself on that field. I mean, if you can't get amped for that or pumped up for that, I mean, you don't need to be playing.
That's what he lives for. Guys like him live for that.
Exactly. And I think you guys would agree with that. He's obviously not too happy with his performance because he does expect himself to do better or be better. But hell, I want him in my foxhole.
Sure.
Game 7 or going into the World Series for sure.
Daddy Roo, what's your thoughts?
Like Scherzer's, because of his calming and experience, and just that professional, been there, done that before, not going to get rattled. It'd be interesting to see tonight, right, with the kid Fott, who being a rookie. But at the same time, he's made 18 starts this year, and each step of the way you grow into this process. And of course, Scherzer's been there so many times, and he's in the past has been totally dominant, and he's kind of reinventing himself. And actually, I thought he pitched well enough last night to keep them in the ball game. And then when Seager comes out, they've been waiting on Corey Seager, who, in my opinion, is one of the top players in Major League Baseball. He could just get it. If you hit it to him, you're out, and he can hit. I think I said last week, if he swings and misses at a pitch, by 5 feet, it doesn't faze him. He has no emotion. I did see him smile after the win last night. That's the first time I've seen any emotion from him. And Adolis has put together just an unreal series, and he's a very good player to say the least. And I've mentioned before, when you can hit the ball where they're not allowed to play defense, over that outfield wall, it changes things. And Seager did that early. And, it's a game changer because everyone knows on a homer, whether it's a solo homer or a 3-run homer, there's a chink in the armor, and my guy on the mound can be had. Like when Nola threw, he gave up 2 solo homers. That should not beat you, right? But it changes the nerves in the system and in the dugout of everybody. Is like, oh, we're not going to be totally dominant tonight, right?
Yeah.
And so like I said, solo homer shouldn't hurt you, but when any homer, it changes the mentality on both sides. Like, we know we can get to this guy. We get the right pitch, and they know that my guy could be hit tonight. And it's a game changer immediately. And Seager is just, in my opinion, he's a consummate pro. He just goes out and handles his business, and he does it. And I've been waiting the night before last. In this last at bat, Simeon finally, after fighting off 6 or 8, maybe 9 pitches, gets a base hit to the left, and I thought, oh, there's a sign, right? Because when those 2 guys are going, Simeon and Seager, they're really good. And then, of course, Seager clicks in the first inning last night. I'm like, okay, Houston really is in trouble because the top of that order is rock solid, and obviously they're strong up the middle defensively.
Yeah, and let's talk about Chapman a little bit. When he came in, Rooster, how would you have taken that 104 off the back of the leg?
That's interesting. You just brought that up. I'll give you my little thing.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
Go ahead, Rooster.
Okay.
Well, I was just Chapman is not the guy he used to be either, but he's still a presence, and as a hitter. With the trajectory, he's a big guy, and it's left-handed, the wrong side, and the trajectory in which he's throwing it from, she still makes it a handful, and every now and then he rushes it up there pretty good. And he's like all guys that throw hard. When the breaking ball is, when he's got command of that, it just adds miles per hour to a fastball, and it makes it that much more difficult to hit. So it's still about command and. Command that breaking ball, and then you can let the fastball get away with some stuff.
Go ahead, John.
Ahead. I want to hear.
I just it's funny that you brought that up because my wife and I, Kim, we were talking about that last night. I told her I think that was intentional. That was.
You think it was?
Oh, absolutely. That was absolutely intentional.
Because of what happened with Garcia?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a 11-4 game, 11-3 game. 1 out. Yeah, he's going to let one rip. I mean, the guy's got more command than that. I mean, I've seen him pitch over the years, and that was way inside.
Way inside. Man, I'd hate to see his.
It's an interesting spring training in 2024.
You got that right because, I was surprised nothing was said about it. And I think the reason why is because it was, below the knee or, right, the back of the leg.
Yeah, the back of the thigh. I bet he's got a bruise.
Oh.
Yeah, he's feeling it worse today than last night.
I'm going to be honest with you. He's got a limp. I can promise you.
Oh, I get it. Heck.
But, Kim was telling me, she goes, there's no way he hit him. I said, you're kidding me. I know he did.
Yeah, ain't no question about it.
Before. Yeah.
He drilled him before. And what's beautiful? And I texted some guys during the game the other night, and I said, guys, don't look now, but there hasn't been a pitch clock violation in the entire playoffs, that I remember, and I don't think I've missed a pitch. And we've also had a guy really pimp a home run, and Adolis did the other night, and he kind of showed it bad, right? And it gets retaliated, he gets drilled. And I'm going, without the pitch clock, we're playing with real tempo again, like the game used to be played. And now, if you show your ass, you're going to pay for that. And, here we go. we might be just getting back to some real baseball. I loved it.
Oh, Bruce, we've been in a few at the University of West Florida, and I know when I was at South Alabama, we had a few. I remember when we were playing Spring Hill, Coach Kittrell, which John played for, was the head coach at Spring Hill. And we had this big redhead first baseman. Golly, what was his last name? He was big, though, probably 6'4", 6'5". And he comes back into first like, Kittrell played for Stanky, so he taught him, go to the inside part of the bag, turn your back, move him off of first base, right? So he does that to this big red, we called him. And Stanky walks out on the field during the back then it wasn't called, it was a game. He walks out on the field over to the first baseman and says, he does that again, you take care of him. So, of course, our pitcher turns and throws over. The kid comes back, and he just picks him up and boom, body slams him. And then everybody just comes out of the dugout, and there's a huge brawl at first base. That's just the way it used to be.
Yeah. Kind of protect your own there. And
and I'll never forget ours at William Carey.
Oh, we don't even want to get into that. That was a bad scene.
Oh, that was horrible, dude. It was like 3-1. They had a whole dugout, like 50 dudes, and we had 18 guys, and we're just shucking and diving, trying not to get killed in that one. John, you ever been in any of those? Even in college or at the professional level?
The best one of all time was one we had. You guys might remember this. The brawl we had down in southwestern Louisiana in '92. And I was on the mound, and Papo Ramos, I don't know if you remember that name.
I remember that name.
All-American, great ball player. But Papo, there was a history with him the year before in regionals. I was on the mound, and they were beating us. They knocked us out down there at LSU. But I came into relief, and he was up to bat, and I hit him, drilled him. And he's running his mouth or whatever, and nothing happened. But anyway, it carried over to the next year, and wasn't thinking of anything that happened the previous year. Well, the book on him was to pitch him inside because he crowds the plate. He stands right up on the plate, and my ball's naturally running, and I'm gonna pound you in, and the catcher's in there sealing and so forth. But I hit him the first time. He didn't do anything. He went down to first base. He came up the second time. It might have been the third or fourth inning, but drilled him again. And, and I just
stay hot.
First mistake was putting my head down because it's just like, I'm not trying to hit this guy. I'm just trying
not trying to start a rally or anything.
No, just I'm trying to keep him honest, keep him off the plate a little. Man, he comes rushing out. I heard Sealy yell something. He's probably within 5 feet of me or whatever. And I had two of my teammates come rushing in from third base side. He took a hard right, and it was on like you believe. There's a great video of it out there somewhere. I think Todd Cooper, teammate of mine, his wife was videoing it, and it was one of the best brawls I think the school's been in, or it ranks up there for sure. So.
We could probably go to jail these days for even saying it was a good brawl.
Yeah,
exactly.
The funniest one for me was when we were at Louisiana Lafayette, and the fans were coming on toward the dugout, and Stanky's in the dugout, and they're yelling at Stanky. Stanky said, "Hey, y'all just wait after the game, and they'll come out and fight you guys too." After the brawl's all over, and we're coming in the dugout, and we're like, "Coach, are you kidding me?" But anyway, that's just the way baseball used to be. And how huge was Garcia after that ordeal? What did he hit? 3 or 4 more home runs after what happened?
Yes, after that, and the beauty of the grand slam the other night, which kind of sealed the deal, was. He's just struck out 4 times.
Oh, gosh.
And it's at Houston after this little Donnybrook that they had. And, and then he kind of brought it on himself, pimping the home run as bad as he did.
Yes,
but
I agree.
To punch out 4 times and then to, hit the grand slam is phenomenal. And it just goes to show you how tough the game is, because all that stuff's these are pros, right? It's beyond you. You're moving on, and he's not happy about striking out 4 times. But I'll be honest with you, 1 for 5 with a grand slam is a terrific day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's and then sure. Last night, he hit 2 more home runs. I think we'd be remiss to not talk about Jose Altuve. I mean, for as big as that guy is, he's just a clutch. He's clutch. He's been clutch since he's been in the big leagues that I can remember. John, did you ever pitch against him?
No, never did. And, I think, I'm not taking anything away from him. I think he is a good hitter, but I think the aspects or the dynamics of the game have changed for him to be able to hit like that. I can promise you, somebody that gets extension on the outer half of the plate, you got to pound him in.
Oh yeah,
all day long. I mean, and the problem is, guys, they don't do it enough, or or there's a chance of them getting kicked out of the game or whatever. You know what I mean? Because if you hit him, they're going to think it's intentional, or oh my God, you can't do that. I mean, like I said, I'm not trying to take anything away from him or his career. I think he's a Hall of Famer for sure, but he's one of the main guys that you got to keep honest on that team. You can't let him beat you. And it's the times I've seen him play in games, there's guys that just don't pitch him in enough, and
I agree with that.
They're just going to stay away, try and live off their 95, 98 mile an hour fastball, and he's going to beat you every time. So
would either one of you can chime in on this? I mean, in my experience, I understand velocity is huge, but would you rather have a guy that can pitch it, or would you rather have a guy that's 100? I mean, because we saw last night, Chapman made a great pitch down in the zone, and the lefty from I think he's Cuban, the big lefty, Alvarez,
yeah.
Yeah, he just laid the bat down on it, single into right center field. I mean, it doesn't matter how hard you throw it, in my opinion. If it's over the plate.
Look, big league hitters, if you put them in the middle of the interstate and said, look, we're going to fly F-16s at you at 1,200 miles an hour, the third one's going to get squared up. These guys, they had that skill set, which is a really rare skill set, and they'll get the velo time. Now, to answer your question, do I want the guy with command or the guy, with the velo? Velo is going to get you away with some mistakes. So if I'm talking minor leagues, give me the guy that throws hard. I want to teach him the command, right?
Yeah.
But at the big league level, you better have a little bit of all of it. And, because it will help you get away with some mistakes, if you throw hard. But it's always going to be about adding and subtracting, a little harder, get the guy thinking soft and go hard. It's always that. And, if you can get away with a mistake, that's good. Because I can tell you, if you watch the highlights, they're not hitting good pitches. Very rarely do they hit good pitches well. Yeah. I try to explain it to hitters all the time that, that when you hit a homer, you didn't do anything different. You got a pitch that could be hit for a homer.
Right.
And, it's not a matter of doing something different. Or if you made it out, it's what you're swinging at. If you have a bad swing, you can get cut when you're 9 years old. There's a lot of lesson givers out there don't want to hear that, but it's usually be on time and don't chase. And your odds of, hitting the ball hard goes way up. For example, in all of the big league games this year, and this is kind of not really getting analytical, but it's at least statistical, balls that were hit with a 90 mile an hour exit speed, big leaguers all combined hit 487. Hit the ball hard, use the barrel of the bat, and, ball's going to find a way to get in. And, as a pitcher, you're just trying to throw that off and not let them hit hard. And then there's, if you're an offensive guy, too many guys playing defense, it's too hard to get a hit,
Yeah.
And then you're never going to beat baseball. You're trying to beat the opponent tonight. Just right now. This is it. In this, like with these game sevens, are my favorite because last night's starter could at least make another manager think he's coming in, or yet he may come in. I love the game sevens. It's all, everything's on the table. There's nothing,
hands on deck for sure.
they're all hands on deck. And I mean, they may throw the water cooler out there. Who knows? Whatever it takes, because there ain't no guarantees of getting back to this same exact spot over the rest of your career. Like, it's very hard to get to this point. So they're going to lay it on the line.
What are your thoughts, John, about the command versus the velocity? I know you were a hard thrower. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, command all day. It's like Rooster said, and I agree. The minor leagues, it seems like the minor leaguers, because I've had to go down and pitch some B games or whatever, and I'm trying to mix it up. And I mean, they're just hammering me all over the place. But you have guys today's game that are throwing 95 plus, but they don't look like they're pitching. It's they're kind of all over the place. And on the other hand, too, if I'm a hitter, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I get rid of the inner half because it seems like nobody pitches inside no more. I'm looking middle away all day long. Anything in inner half, I'm spitting on it because more than likely it's not going to be a strike. You don't have the guy that can paint inside and paint outside anymore. It seems like they can only paint to one side of the plate, and that's what I would just be sitting on all day long. They might have the breaking ball or whatever, and then it goes back to, well, can you throw that pitch for a strike? And like Rooster said, deception is everything. And I've talked to the big league hitters throughout my career, and every one of them have told me that said, I can't stand a guy that can change speeds. A good changeup or a good breaking ball, not throwing the breaking ball as hard as you can and, living on a prayer, but, getting them to get that bat out front and one swing and then maybe throwing a little bit harder next pitch or whatever. You don't see that no more. And it's a shame. It really is.
Yeah.
Nothing gets hit harder than 94 except 96. They'll get you timed up. And
all day long.
Every big league hitter can eliminate pitches. And if they can eliminate one of your pitches and sometimes two, and they can just sit on a pitch, they got you.
Yep.
And every one of them have an eagle eye and a little bit of help on you tipping your pitches. And if you're tipping them, I texted a buddy after the first two games he's an advanced scout for the Diamondbacks. And, so he's been sitting on the other series, right? The American League stuff in case the Diamondbacks get there. And I texted him the other day after Philly goes up 2 games and it seemed like they hit, 17 home runs. And I said, hey, do you guys advance yourselves or just the other clubs? And he says, I don't personally do it, but we do advance ourselves because I saw some clear photos that on fastballs, guys, stopped their hand movement here. And on breaking balls, they were a little lower. Well, guys are going to pick that up, especially, I don't know, I was explaining to a kid earlier today that, if you're a big league hitter, you're probably taking 17 at-bats a game. Like, they're locked in the whole game on everything that you're doing. You watch Bregman homer last night. First thing he does is come in and grab an iPad to look at his swing on that pitch. Adolis hits a homer. He grabs an iPad. They're not watching themselves a replay to feel good about themselves. They want to know if they put the right swing on the right pitch. Like, it's very scientific, and I don't think that's analytical. I think it's common sense, and we've gotten better at that, right, in baseball.
Well, yeah, I'll be honest. I hate the iPads and the computers and stuff right behind the dugout. I mean, I don't know. I'm old school, I guess. It's just, I just was never used to that. And
right.
I love the aspect of the game back in the day where, you had to remember what you did. I remember guys writing stuff down on notepads, and that's just always been baseball to me. I mean, it's so easy now, like you said.
It's certainly easier. And John, I'll say this. If you watch a guy in college football or the NFL with the jumbotrons in the end zone, if he's running, they're looking up at that scoreboard to see if the guy behind him is actually going to catch him or if he's coming from his left or his
Yeah.
right. Like
And then
they're
they'll make a
using
cut.
the information,
That's a good point. I never even thought about that.
and so baseball's much the same. You watch players make a play and they turn to that jumbotron or whatever they call them. They look at them immediately to find out, where was that? Should I have been over? Or, even defensively, they're always looking at the next or the last replay.
Yeah.
Have you guys heard the story of why Coach Stanky stopped coaching the Texas Rangers? Boy, what would he do today? Well, he managed for 6 years and played in the big leagues for 12, but his last managerial job was Texas. He goes to spring training, and he's out there for a couple of days. And, at that particular time, I know it's pretty common nowadays, but they just started having blow dryers and, people were growing facial hair and things like that. He quit on the spot, just went to the airport and said, I can't take it. Called the GM or the owner and said, hey, I'm on my way back to Mobile. And that's when he became the head baseball coach at the University of South Alabama in 1972. What would he do today?
Oh,
he would be, I always say it, Coach Stanky's rolling over in his grave watching these games.
I have a Stanky story for you guys that you guys will love.
Let's hear it.
I played at LSU for Coach Jack LeMay, who had played for Eddie Stanky in the big leagues, right? And I make my college debut. We on some road trip, and we go into Tulane, and then we go to South Alabama, and we're on our way to Auburn or something. I don't remember what it was. I make my college debut. I didn't pitch much in high school. I threw 12 innings, and I obviously had a good arm, so they're going to try to make me a pitcher in college. So anyway, I make my debut, and I'm in the bullpen, and I don't know, I probably throw 5 or 6 pitches, and the bullpen catcher, is jumping up, waving his hat, saying, put him in, because I'm handcuffing him on everything, right? I'm throwing the wine out of it. Well, I get out to the mound, and 3 2/3 innings later, I've given up 7 earned runs, and it was just awful, right? So I come off the field, and I'm not happy, to say the least. And Coach LeMay, he's just a big league guy, and he was a superhuman. He is just laughing, and he's literally laughing out loud. And I don't want to see that. I'm not happy at all. I'm just a nervous freshman. And I said, "What are you laughing at?" And he says, "Eddie got you." I said, "What do you mean he got you?" He said, "The moment we put you to the mound, you threw your first pitch, because I'm doinking them on the plate and all kind of stuff." He said, "I sent Steve, who was our assistant, to the bullpen. And this is one of the things we always did, and everybody did in those days. You brought a tape measure. The bullpen mound was 55 feet for the visitors at South Alabama.
Oh.
And of course, the catchers, the bullpen guy's going, put him in. He's throwing gas. I can't catch him. And I get out there, and every breaking ball I throw, hits in the dirt, hits a catcher in the throat. It was a nightmare of an outing. But welcome to college baseball at South Alabama.
That's a great story right there. That's a great story. Let's talk a little bit briefly about the National League Series tonight. What are you guys' thoughts? I think the Phillies probably are going to win that game just because, number one, they're at home. Number two, they got a little more experienced pitcher on the mound, and plus they've got some guys in their lineup that can really rake a little bit, and I think that's going to come out on top. But I could be wrong. I was wrong about the 2 series this last week. So,
well,
go ahead, John.
I'll say this. I mean, yeah, everything on paper and the way it looks, Philly should win this game, but not so fast. Not so. I'm going to tell you a few things why. Philly's got everything to lose for. They put themselves in this situation. And the other thing, I don't know if you guys heard about it, but they were planning a pool party out in Arizona for when they clinched. And I guarantee it, that got into the clubhouse of the Diamondbacks, and that lit a little fire underneath them. So I think they're going to come out with a chip on their shoulder. I could possibly be wrong about it, but I think Philly should win this game. But I think the Diamondbacks come back and win it. So,
yeah, well, in my opinion, I think we finally saw the real Diamondbacks last night or yesterday afternoon. They started running and putting pressure on you that they haven't done in the past. Guys would get on, and they got there by being really aggressive and putting pressure on your defense. You look at Philly's defense, you got a lot of, in my opinion, DHs playing around.
Yeah.
Not calling guys out. I'm just saying this is not a terrific defensive club. And when you start putting that pressure and going first to third, on base hits and stuff like that, I just have my gut feeling is if Arizona plays like they're capable of, just get on base and then create pressure, hit behind runners, do all the things that got you here, which I think they finally relaxed and did yesterday. They're a problem. And the kid fought. In scouting terms, he's got stuff. I don't care where he went to college or high school, or if he's a rookie or not. He's not a rookie in October, I can assure you. He's not tired, and he's got stuff. Like he can really, really pitch.
Well, and sometimes I think, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think sometimes even when you have young, inexperienced guys, a lot of times they don't understand the magnitude of the game. Like John said, this is huge. Sometimes it's a blessing that they don't really think about it. They're just hey, I'm up.
And how many times have the Phillies seen this guy pitch? That's another key.
Right.
If it'd be different if he'd been around the league 5 or 6 years to where they got an idea and he's faced some of these guys.
Ain't no book on him.
Yeah, and there's no book on him. Like you said, Rooster, and you go back. The Diamondbacks they didn't just get there by luck. I mean, they gave that division a run for their money all year. They were in first place there for a little bit, so they're a legit team. I think, like you said, Rooster, they're a little bit more relaxed. They're playing the way they should be playing, and I think
they got 4 guys under 23 years old or 23 and younger. They got some, in my opinion, some bull riders, right? Just crazy enough to go out there and think we can do this. And, they've already seen the environment, and it'll be electric tonight. I can't wait. I love that. But at the same time, you know how it is. I mean, at that level, college or high school, by the time you get to this point in the season, what's going on in grandstands, that ain't mattering. You know what I mean? Like these guys are locked in. The mound's 60 feet, 6 inches. The bases are 90 feet. And most good hitters are thinking, I just need him to get it out of his hand. You know what I mean? And you got to deliver the pitches, obviously, as a pitcher. I think it's going to be an exciting game.
Best way to silence that crowd is to score early first. Like what Texas did last night. And I'll go back to the Game 7 against Boston back in 2004. They came out, Johnny Damon hit the grand slam in the first inning. You talk about shutting down, 7,000 people in a heartbeat. In 7. It took us completely out of the game.
Yeah, it takes the wind right out of your sail.
Yeah.
You can be had with them homers when they happen. Like, we're vulnerable tonight, boys. We ain't got, and there's other times where you look and you see your guy out there and he's just dominant and everybody knows it. I haven't seen I've seen pitchers this postseason be really good, but I haven't seen anybody just be dominant that, guys are really going, okay, we're going to pitch off tonight because, this guy's too good. I haven't seen that this year. So, the Scherzers and the Verlanders, they've been that in the past. They hadn't been that this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you on that. Yeah.
All right. So, John, you got Arizona, right?
I'm picking Arizona. Yeah.
Okay. Rooster, who you taking?
Arizona.
Yeah. And I'm the only one taking the Phillies. Okay. And probably I'm taking the Phillies because that was my team growing up too when they had Rose and Schmidt and, Lefty. I was the
was
lefties.
An easy club to like back then.
Yeah. I mean, and all I had Cleveland and Cincinnati, and the Big Red Machine was gone by that time. So,
right.
And I always liked Pete Rose. Anyway, just like the way. Before we go, we got about 6 more minutes. Tell a quick story. One of your favorite stories. One of my favorite stories is my roommate Steve Oliverio, playing at the University of South Alabama. We were playing Houston at home. He had pitched the first game, didn't fare very well. Went to Coach Stanky and said, "Hey, Coach, hey, I can pitch in relief if you need me." So we get into the next game. We're struggling. It's a key point in the game. I think we were ahead, and they had a couple guys on base, so he brings Ollie back in. Ollie comes in and doesn't do very well again. So Stanky goes out to the mound, and you see him go out, and Ollie hands him the ball. Next thing you know, here comes Ollie running down to the bullpen, because we always had to sit in the bullpen. I'm like, and he's fuming. And Ollie was the guy that idolized Tom Seaver. He wore the knee pad. He wore number 41, had the same mechanics, the whole 9 yards, and he was just furious. And I'm like, Ollie, what's going on? He goes, that old bastard. He was pissed. And I'm like, what happened? He said, you won't believe what he said to me. And I said, what did he say? He said he came out, held out his hand. He said, thanks for nothing. Ollie hands him the ball, runs to the dugout. He's in the dugout. Stanky comes in the dugout. Stanky goes, get the hell out of my dugout. So here he comes down to the bullpen. That's one of my favorite stories ever about Eddie Stanky. John, you got any good ones about Coach Kittrell or anybody?
Oh, gosh.
I hate to put you guys on the spot like that, but I've been holding that story.
I get asked stuff all the time. I mean, there's probably some crazy stories about my roommate, Andrew Contreras. He was from New York.
At South, or when you were in the big league? Or in the minor? At South.
Yeah, great guy, great roommate, still friends to this day. But he did some things to Coach Kittrell. There was one this is a great one. We were playing, I think, South Florida and or UAB or something, but Rob Bergeron was on the mound. This was back in '91, and there was a ground ball hit to Andrew, and Rob's coming over to cover first base, and he flipped the ball and he threw it over Bergeron, and Bergeron didn't get it. And anyway, he comes jogging in the dugout. Kittrell's like, Andrew Contreras, what were you thinking there? And he goes, I thought he was taller than that, Coach, and just kept.
I thought he was taller than that.
There's that to this day. We talked about it a couple weeks ago, in fact.
That's classic, though.
He goes, what do you say to that? He goes, how do you respond to that?
There is no answer.
I thought he was taller than that, but.
Rooster, I know you got some good ones.
Well, I could go on for days telling stories, but I'll tell you briefly. More than once or twice, Skip Bertman was really, really good and a master motivator and all kinds of things, right? He was always ahead of his time, so to speak. He, to a few guys over the years, would come out, and he'd be like, okay, John, listen, it's not your fault. See, I recruited you. I put you in this situation. I should have never done that. I thought you could pitch. It's my fault. See, I'm going to take this. And then he'd get up close and go, your mother's in section 30. Give her a wave. She'll never see you on my mound again. Get out of here. He was tough. And, the kids would either go and pout, which most of them didn't pout. They went in there, they were furious, like Bret's boy, Ollie.
Yeah.
And then, you figured out that I need to get my act together here if I'd like to see the mound again.
Yeah.
So a little tough love,
Yeah, that was Coach Stanky's way of saying, hey, you better be better the next time, Ollie.
Yeah, I'm not having none of that. You'll be find yourself at some JUCO.
Another good talk, gentlemen, and hopefully we can come back and do this again next Tuesday at the same time. Or, this one was an hour later. But anyway, sometime around 4 or 5 o'clock, you guys' time, Central Time, and hopefully we can do it again. And I certainly enjoy it, hearing stories and, just talking baseball. And we'll have more to talk about.
Let's get dialed in for the playoffs, baby. We got Game 7 tonight. That's awesome.
Yes, sir. All right. You guys have a good evening, and that'll be a wrap.
Enjoyed it, fellas.
Thank you, guys.
Right. Yes, sir.